And good morning. Welcome into Sports Talk at the Stadium this morning from Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium. And we're brought to you by the South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff pork powered by soy. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary here a little bit after Clemson wins the ACC championship with a win over North Carolina. It was a close final score, 45-37, and North Carolina did make it a little bit exciting at the end, but for the most part, this was a game that Clemson pretty much controlled the whole way. The Tiger offense was smoking tonight, and practically every aspect came back, and it starts with Deshaun Watson. He was special and maybe made his Heisman statement tonight.
Well, he made a Heisman statement. He's going to be in New York. There's no question about that. I don't know if he's going to get enough national votes to pass Derrick Henry. Some people wait until after the championship games to vote. We do, but not everybody does that. But I think Watson deserves to be in New York, and I think he will be in New York. I'm not sure that he'll necessarily win, but he was great. He was the best player on the field. And Clemson, this was kind of like their season. They were the best team on the field. They did some things that kept North Carolina in the game, but they were good enough. They had enough talent to overcome that. And you never, even though North Carolina got in the game, even when it was a 5-point game, you never felt that Clemson was going to lose. There wasn't a point where I said Clemson's going to lose this game. And there hasn't been many times this season where I said Clemson's going to lose this game. There's some times I said, well, this is getting interesting, but I never really genuinely thought Clemson was going to lose a game. They're not a fluky 13-0.
No. And to get to 13-0, a lot of things have to go your way. Number one, you have to be good. You have to be well coached. You have to stay healthy. You have to get some breaks along the way, both in terms of what happens with your opponents and also breaks in the game. And even in this game, the Tigers got a great break late in that. The onside kick that North Carolina recovered after getting to within 8 points in the last minute or so was incorrectly ruled against North Carolina. They ruled North Carolina offsides. The replay showed clearly that they were onside and should have been given the football. It could not be reviewed. Clemson gets the ball, and after they get the second onside kick,
they almost
blew that.
Yeah.
But the point is, they get a call that goes their way that helps them win the game, and they go 13-0. And that's part of what it takes to get to this point. 13-0. Now, years past, 13-0, and you're raising the national championship trophy. Not yet. They've got more work to do.
They're the only 13-0 team in the country, and that's pretty remarkable to get through a regular season. And people are going to knock Clemson's schedule. They played 3 teams that were in the top 10. North Carolina was a number 10 team, Notre Dame, Florida State. So it's not like they haven't been tested at all, and they won all of them. Okay, so you can't fault them at all for their record. They don't need to apologize for their record. They are going to have to play tighter probably from here on out. I keep saying that, and they actually won the turnover battle today. They still didn't play a clean game by any stretch. There were some special teams blunders, a lot of penalties those things will get you beat. They lost a player to a targeting penalty in TJ Green, so he'll have to, I think, sit out a half of the semifinal against either Michigan State or Oklahoma, or however that turns out. So they do have to clean things up. They're going to get into that higher altitude, as Dabo Swinney likes to say. But this team is loaded up with talent and speed. So many different guys can make plays, and when they needed plays, they got them, whether it's an interception, a big sack and strip, whether it's Deshaun Watson scrambling. They had 2 90-plus yard drives, a 96er and a 97er. That's impressive. That's what really, really good football teams do. That's what special football teams do.
Game number 100 for Dabo Swinney at Clemson. His players gave him a jersey that had 100 on it.
That was nice.
It kind of tells you just how long it's taken to get to this point. I mean, they've won an ACC championship before right here under Dabo. They did it in 2011. But to get to this point, the pinnacle, where now they're going to go to the playoffs with a chance to play for the national championship perhaps. It took 100 games to get here. And so I think that's significant as well. Just a couple of the main numbers. Gallman, 187 rushing yards. That's 8 100-yard rushing games for him. That's a Clemson record. Watson rushed for 131 yards. He passed for 289. He accounted for 5 touchdowns. He gets my vote for the
number
Heisman.
one.
You're
not supposed to reveal that. The Heisman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're not going to be happy.
Scratch that. I'll think about him as being my vote for number 1 when the time comes. But in all honesty, he's getting my vote for number 1. Scott had 7 catches for 96 yards. And Gallman, one thing Dabo said, they're trying to make him a more effective receiver. He had 4 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown, so he was effective there. Defensively, you might think the Tigers didn't have a great game, but they did impact North Carolina's 2 most important players. Marquise Williams, 11 of 33. They never let him get comfortable, never let him get in the groove, and they held Elijah Hood to just 65 yards on 14 carries.
I think Marquise Williams will never want to step foot in this stadium again for the rest of his life. He won't want to take his grandkids to a Carolina Panthers game at Bank of America Stadium. 2 games in this stadium. I think he had about 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and a strip, lost fumble. Not a good experience at Bank of America Stadium for Marquise Williams this season.
Yeah, and that interception that he had, was that the one
at the 3-yard line?
Yeah, late in the second quarter. Was that the one
early in it was the first drive of the second half.
Yeah,
they were going in there potentially.
Early third quarter, he's driving down the field, and it's very similar to what he did against the Gamecocks late here. He threw a ball kind of down the middle, and it was intercepted by Tankersley, and then Clemson went off on their 97-yard drive. That really swung the momentum of the game. Remember, the Tigers scored right before the end of the half, and then they get the turnover, they go down and score, and things are rolling their way.
Made a play every time they needed to make a play.
That's what they've done all season long.
That's right. That's why they're 13-0. Could be the first college football team ever to go 15-0. And if they do that, they'll win a national championship. If you put me on the spot right now, I'll put you on the spot. I don't think Clemson's going to make it through the playoff unscathed. I do think somebody's going to get them eventually, but I will say that, I mean, the next year is the year everybody thought they're going to be better anyway. This is a learning experience, but if you put me on the spot now, I don't think Clemson wins a national championship.
Well, I think the only team that can beat them is Alabama, and part of that's because of what's on that jersey, Alabama. That psychs everybody out to begin with. And number 2, they're great, and they play great defense, and they have a great running back who is a horse and who could win the Heisman as well. So that's the only team. That'd be a great national championship game on January 11th. Clemson and Alabama for the national championship.
Oklahoma, and Sparty has a good defense too. You may get into the Final Four. Any one of those teams on a given day can beat the other one. So they're going to be tested. The thing that worries me about Clemson is they still make some of those mistakes. They've been able to cover them up with talent, but they're going to be playing teams that have equal talent, are certainly on par, and they're able to punish you a little bit more for those mistakes. They really haven't had to deal with that yet.
All right, let's talk about what's here later on today because it's already Sunday. Clemson's got the big pizza party. There'll be some media availability with Dabo and players after that, so we'll have some of that for you on the website. There's a conference call, 4 o'clock Eastern time for the 4 coaches involved in the playoff. We'll have that for you as well. And then, of course, on Monday night, we'll hear what you have to say about a number of things. Of course, the Tigers moving forward, the Gamecocks hiring Muschamp as their coach, and everything else that's going on in this crazy business of college football.
Yeah, it's been a crazy night. It's been a crazy it has been a very strange season. A great season for Clemson, but just so many with their run, the flooding, Steve Spurrier quitting in the middle of the year, the coaching search. It has been a wild ride. It always is, with lots of twists and turns and ups and downs, but still some more football to be played for Clemson.
All right, that's going to do it for us from here at Bank of America Stadium. Again, Clemson wins the ACC championship. That's their first since 2011 and the 15th in Clemson football history. They take it 45-37 over North Carolina. Thanks for joining us here. Sports Talk at the Stadium.